Can we be honest about Brock Purdy yet? He was a great story. And when he was on that run, you had to really humor him. Like forget what you see, just look at the box score, and he's the next Joe Montana. And we really talked like he might be the next Joe Montana. But the one thing that people had actually seen Joe Montana kept mentioning, like my dad, he covered the whole Joe Montana experience. He was like, yeah, like maybe physically, like maybe if you really squint really hard, you might see some similarities between Joe Montana and Brock Purdy. But what made Joe were the comebacks, not a weak arm. It was he was losing, he won, and he did it all the time. Now, I was born in 1988, so I don't remember but I've heard stories. Joe Montana losing still would win, would come back, big games. I think he won 4 Super Bowls. So Brock had to prove that because he's always playing with the lead. He's always winning. His team is always better than the other team. This game, he still had a better team than the opponent, freaking Vikings, but he was losing the whole time. But the game was close. And in the fourth quarter, he had 2 different drives where he was down 5 with the opportunity to lead the game-winning touchdown drive. 2 chances. And I'm not saying Joe Montana would have knocked that out every single time in his career. But you gave him back-to-back chances against the same mediocre defense, down 5. Joe Montana most likely would get 1 touchdown in that scenario. Steve Young most likely would get 1 touchdown in that scenario. Jeff Garcia most likely would get 1 touchdown in that scenario. Brock, apparently not. I mean, when the pressure was really on and it was time for him to be a hero and lead a team from behind against a team that's not the Raiders, all of a sudden, he turned into Jimmy Garoppolo. It's like Scooby-Doo, where they find the bad guy and he's got a mask on and take the mask off. It was Jimmy Garoppolo all along. He threw 2 picks on the last 2 drives to the same safety. All of a sudden, it's like Brock Purdy thinks he's that guy. He thinks he's Joe Montana. He's going out there trying to make plays that he can't make, man. Dude, stay within yourself. You are the checkdown king. You are the dink and dunk champion. You've gotten so far doing that. Don't try to do too much, because what's happening with Brock is he's starting to throw picks. He threw 2 in this game, 1 in last game, and the other game against the Browns, there were 2 other passes that could have been picked. This is why the interceptions he threw in training camp, I think, were newsworthy. A lot of people just scoffed at him and said they shouldn't even be mentioned. Well, what he did at the end of this game is what he did in training camp all the time. It's been an issue now 2 games in a row. And if Brock Purdy comes back down to earth and isn't an elite quarterback, it's going to be because of turnovers. He's accurate enough. He has good anticipation. But that anticipation led to 1 of the intercepts, the first one. He anticipated Jawan Jennings making a break and being open, but he wasn't, and he threw the ball right to the safety. Second one, he extended a play like he thought he was Patrick Mahomes and threw the ball down the field right to the same safety. So it's like, I don't know, man. Maybe he thinks, maybe he believes what all of his supporters have been saying about him, that he's the truth, that he's the real deal. He didn't look like the real deal today or last game. He looks like he's been kind of bad the last 2 games. 2 games in a row, he's been kind of bad. And he got all those excuses against the Browns, like, oh, the Browns, their defense is just the greatest defense of all time. They give up 38 points to Gardner Minshew and the Colts this week. So I don't know about that. And then the freaking Vikings defense. Now, if Christian McCaffrey doesn't fumble, if Jake Moody makes a field goal, maybe Brock Purdy looks better. But honestly, on his own, does he look like the real deal to you right now? Does he look like a franchise quarterback? It looks like if you start taking away some of these all pros on offense, if the defense isn't the best defense in the league, you see him for what he is. A guy who's good, but not good enough. At least not the last 2 weeks. Again, he had 2 chances, not 1. 2 chances to be a hero against a mediocre defense. And he didn't just like punt or not get the first. He threw picks to the same safety. If Jimmy did that, you'd be laughing at him. You're not laughing at Brock because he hasn't done it before. But I've seen him do this in training camp so many times. It's concerning to me because I've seen this Brock Purdy before. I feel like this is who Brock Purdy is. And he hasn't really faced a real test, but he's had tests the last 2 weeks, and all of a sudden, these issues are coming out. He's not in cruise control anymore. He's in close games, and what's he doing? Throwing picks, just like his predecessor. He just holds the ball a little bit longer before he throws the pick, or he throws the pick with anticipation. He anticipates where the safety is going to be, which is impressive. I'm not trying to be snarky about Brock Purdy, but I think like you haven't been allowed to tell the truth about Brock Purdy since he started playing, which is about a year ago. I think it's time. We've seen it 2 games in a row. He's lost back-to-back games, and in these games, he has looked ordinary at best. Ordinary at best. Not like a quarterback you need to give $40 million a year to, or who's going to win a Super Bowl or going to be an MVP. The best quarterback on the roster right now. But man, if he loses again next week to the Bengals and he throws a couple picks, what are they going to do with him? He's getting to that point. Everyone assumed he was going to bounce. People remember, hey, if he plays poorly against the Vikings, who you never know what could happen to him, but he won't. Everyone expects Brock Purdy to bounce back. He didn't. Debo's not going to be there next week. We don't know about Trent Williams. What if he loses to Cincinnati 3 in a row and throws some picks? At what point does Kyle Shanahan give the next Steve Young a chance? Because I'm telling you, Brock Purdy is not the next Joe Montana. Sorry. You got the next Steve Young on the bench. When's he going to get his chance? Jake Moody saved his job with that 55-yard field goal make. Purdy's going to need to play well against Cincinnati. His job is not locked in. He's had 2 bad ones in a row. That's the beginning of a trend. Let's see if it's a real trend. Santos, got you. Brandon Stalkup says Moody needed that long field goal when he missed that first one. It was looking rocky for his career. Agree. Geo Dude says, once again, they overpay a guy and he has a down year. Agree. Brother Bob says, Igley, you were cool with Lance. Can he return? I think that bridge has been burned. Justin Cheeseman says, word is out if the Niners lose one offensive player, Kyle can't coach and can't play from behind. Said since the start, Wilkes is trash. Kyle's a genius, man. What are you talking about? Fern 79, 199. Thank you. I'm not going to wear red anymore. I do look like a ketchup. Ray Histo. Complete overuse of McCaffrey, injured last week and then plays easily. 97% of all the snaps. Complete negligence. Agree. Dave Barclay. Kyle, you're awesome. Don't play Mason.